Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast. This is your guide of Geek Side and the companion to the Secret Friends Unite Facebook group. I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden.
Freezing my butt here in Michigan, yet sitting by the cozy fire. It's good stuff.
Yes.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, we're back again. No guest this week. We are just having kind of a leisurely episode as we get ourselves ready for the week going into that. This episode will we'll be looking at our predictions for 2020 and seeing if they came true. And, you know, I guess we're tempting fate with 2021 predictions as well. So I'm sure that will go well because everything in 2021 has gone so well and just right on track.
So well within the 24 days. We've had one good thing happen in this country that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping we'll get more, and it's really been, Twitter has been a whole lot less interesting if you get my drift, but that's okay. I don't like being surprised by our world leaders. I like them to be very boring and doing lots of things. And,
it's been an absolutely great 5 days with nothing scary happening on the political landscape. Woo!
Exactly. We can get back to like memes and, you know, with Bernie. Yes. I mean, what's even better than that? A Bernie meme. We got plenty of them.
A Bernie meme to keep the doctor away or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's episode 310 and issue 310 this week, Charlie. This is a great one. This is a classic. I don't have the specific. Oh, this was April 1979. So I was 4 years old.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That would have been right after my third birthday. So not reading comics yet, but
no.
close.
Exactly. I mean, I might have been watching the Super Friends or something like that on TV.
Yes, exactly.
But this is a great cover. It's Batman issue 310. Apparently says it's all new. Thanks, DC. Must be their symbol. Must have just redid the DC symbol.
Say 30% recycled comic material. Now 40 cents.
Yeah.
Does that
it's hard
mean
to be all new when you've been around for 310 issues or episodes.
Yeah, I was going to say, and how do they say now 40 cents? Is that meaning that it used to be 45 cents and now it's cheaper? Or like
yeah, you don't want to publicize when you got a price right.
I was going to say, are they trying to soften the blow, like graphically, that the price went up by like 5 cents? Oh God, 40 cents.
What a bargain!
I was going to say, but there's no doubt that Gentleman Ghost, who is clearly the villain in this story, is quite a hero. But I'm trying to read the bubble here. Batman, you're no match for the Gentleman Ghost, but they are on a carriage with some horses that, I mean, got those some crazy eyes. Those horses look like somebody's kind of grabbing them by the short curlies. I don't know if horses have short curlies. I'm not going to look into it.
Yeah, and I guess the ghosts are scared of the horse is scared of the ghost. Maybe, who knows? But the interesting thing is about Gentleman Ghost. So they're fighting on a carriage, which is funny because you know carriages are so modern a day at the time. But Gentleman Ghost, I don't really know if he truly was a ghost. He's been in other things like cartoons and the Batman, the Brave and the Bold. I think he was a character there as well. I don't know much about the character, but the fact is he's wearing this bright white suit with a top hat, and a floating monocle. So, I mean, he's bringing the classy back.
Without a doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And I love this. I mean, this is probably post Neil Adams era. So there was some really dark stories and Joe Kubert did the title. So beyond that, DC Universe Infinite actually is launched this week, so you can reach out and check out this title. I think there's a preview, a free trial for that, but you can also read along with this and let us know what you think.
Yes, indeed, and you can do that by hitting us up over on Twitter at Secret Friends U. That's the letter U. I have been making more of an effort to be more active on Twitter. I know, Todd, you do a much better job of that than me, but I'm now running like 3 of the 4 handles for our shows in the Secret Friends Unite network. I also have one for the cosplay page for April and myself, and I have a personal one. So it's a lot of juggling, but I'm trying to get in there and be better at it. Same thing with Instagram. I mean, our Secret Friends Unite Instagram is so I guess I should really look at being better at that as well. So all opportunities to improve, in my opinion.
Yeah, Instagram's a little harder just because it's really like picture based and
Right.
It's not really story based, which we do a lot of that discussion
Correct.
point. So really, it's unless there's like comic of the week or something that we have to share, it's not really that exciting.
That is true. But you know what? We will do the best that we can with Twitter. So please help us grow that, and then end up getting some goodies for yourself from our Digital Price Closet. But we will mention that again at the end of the show. But Todd, where are we going now?
Oh, Charlie, when we're done checking Twitter and not updating Instagram, we check it with our gal pal, our senior news correspondent. So without further delay, Madam Webb, take it away.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Well, let me tell you, Madam Webb, if you're feeling a little cold, just call in the old Fire Lord over here, and he'll stoke your flame, and he did.
Oh, I am not available for flame stoking for old biddies from Pig's Knuckle, Arkansas, or wherever it is she's from. Yikes. No offense.
Yes. So we kick off the news this week, Charlie. We have got a trailer for a new CW show, and you seemed very interested. So tell us all about the show.
This one I'm genuinely excited about because, you know, I dabble in DC Comics. I'm a Marvel zombie, but I have an affinity for Superman. He was kind of my first cinematic love when it came to superheroes. Chris Reeve Superman. There will never be another. You know, I recently embarked on a Superman cosplay with a photo shoot I did with some friends last fall here in Grand Rapids. So yeah, I'm invested, and this pairing of Superman and Lois, which is the name of the show that is going to drop on the CW on my birthday, February 23rd. Please send cash. I will give you the address to my PayPal account. That'd be great. Kidding, but seriously, yeah, this looks great. So we're kind of flashing forward and looking at the fact that both Lois and Clark, having been married for probably close to 15 years, because they have two teenage sons, 15, 20 years, have fallen on hard times, layoffs, and they end up being, for financial reasons, obviously, ending up on the family estate back in Smallville on the Kent farm. And so that brings, as I read through the other document I had, which was the running through the cast, talking about various characters that they run into. Some familiar names in there, Lana Lang obviously being the biggest one. Her husband, who's the local fire chief, Morgan Edge, who was actually played by Rutger Hauer in season 3 of Smallville, because we were just watching. Yeah, what's that?
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yes, exactly. So I'm fired up for this. The trailer was extremely druid, just heavy music, heavy themes, a lot of focus on family and hard times, and just a lot of things that are really prevalent in our own culture, in our own lives in 2020, with all of the hardships we have been through, I would say as a country, but really as a planet, dealing with, no pun intended, the Daily Planet, dealing with COVID and certainly everything that's happening in the United States or had happened. So I'm fired up for this. I will definitely be tuning in. And then Todd, for us who are cord cutters, I'm a cord cutter, you're a cord cutter. This is available to watch on the CW app, free with commercials, if I'm not mistaken, from watching the Crisis crossover thing last year.
Absolutely. I think it's delayed like 24 hours, but that's perfectly fine. You do get commercials, but they're actually not as annoying as some services like Hulu with ads. Holy God. Right.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you say, something is, delayed a day, like a couple of weeks ago, you said, you should watch this new Mr. Mayor show that's going to have Ted Danson in it. It's a sitcom, and we watched the first 2 episodes. It was fun. We've not gone back to it because you just kind of forget about it. But by the time we do go back to it, we'll watch another 3 episodes, and it won't make any difference.
Nope.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of thing is that, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to our predictions for 2021, is that the entire network TV model is just crumbling as time goes by, because there is no appointment viewing. It's simply there when I want to see it, and that's fine by me.
Yeah,
but I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I like the show. I never really, because the way Superman was brought into the CW universe was through Supergirl. At the time when that show came out, they were not part of the overall DC universe. Now they are, because they have that was the big part of the last Crisis events, was basically it acknowledged all of the Earths, and they all kind of coexist on their own little plane, and now they can dip into those if they choose to. And I believe Supergirl now exists in the same world as I think they're now in the same Earth as like the Arrowverse stuff, which is cool. But yeah, they're really taking a page from kind of a new take on Superman, which has been in the comics, which was basically allowing Superman and Lois to have a child, and he's been a really cool character, and he's actually been doing team ups with Damian Wayne, and it's been a very good run of comics, and I really enjoyed it. And it was about, obviously it's different to have a new Superboy who has a Superman as a dad versus, where Superman did not have that. So he had human parents. So it's kind of interesting, a little bit different. But in this one, they're actually adding in an additional boy, which has never been in the comics before. So that's a new character. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And I like this take. It's going to be cool. I'm excited for this, although I will say this based on Supergirl, please do not bring in the Kryptonians for every episode. They're the worst villains. They're just annoying. They're overdone, and we just need some new stuff. Bring back Brainiac. Well, James Marsden needs something to do.
Yeah, sure. The guy needs work. It's not like he's not in everything. So yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, cool. What's up next?
Yeah, next story is we get some trailers for some of these movies, and it's interesting how they are bringing out movies these days. A lot of these, I don't know if these were originally intended to be, straight to video or straight to on demand, but a lot of them are just going that route. One of the ones that we actually had was funny because it was based on kind of like a parody of the Five Nights at Freddy with Nicolas Cage called Willy's World or something. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that video, Charlie.
Mm-mm.
But it's like, man, Nicolas Cage, he is the busiest person in showbiz. He doesn't turn down a script. He's like, give me money, I'll show up, and I'll put everything into it. And it was just funny. But I'm like, I don't know if that was ever supposed to be anything or was just left on the shelf and like, oh, we got nothing coming out, we're gonna put this out. But the same thing is happening with all these other films. And this new movie coming out is called Boss Level, which is taking a familiar trope from science fiction, which is basically repeating the same experience. It's Groundhog's Day with a sci-fi bent. And we have this. We had that with, what is it? Die Another Day with Tom Cruise. I'm not sure if you ever saw that film, Charlie, where he would die. But when he died in this war with these aliens, he basically was splashed with their goo. And essentially every time he died, he was brought back to the same time point. And so it was a really good movie. It basically started off with Tom Cruise being a jerk. Nobody liked him. As he died, he basically became a better character. So this is the same concept, though. And it's basically Frank Grillo, who I guess he's a hitman or something like that. He is essentially reliving his day every day. He gets killed every day. And he's basically taking on Mel Gibson. And I guess Mel Gibson has something to do with this, but he's trying to kill Mel Gibson. It's kind of like the last boss, but it looks really entertaining. And it's just how he's adapting to having to repeat the same day, not dying the same way, but then something new happens and it adds to the mix. So I think this looks a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, I like Frank Grillo as a villain. It's weirder to root for him. Obviously, he was Crossbones in a couple of Captain America movies, and then he was in one of the Purge movies that I think the Election Day or Night one, or maybe he was in more than one. But it's always easy to think of Mel Gibson as a villain the way he's been demonized in real life in the last 10, 15 years. But yeah, you're right. This is a Groundhog Day, and then that Tom Cruise movie you mentioned, which I've not seen. But I think this looks great, and seeing the different ways he dies. Someone a midget slaps a bomb to his back.
Yep.
Excuse me, a little person. Yep. His head gets lopped off and it flies down an escalator. I mean, that's first of all pretty graphic for a trailer.
Yeah.
But a Red Band trailer, whatever it is. So this looks cool. What are the release details on this one?
Good question. I think this is coming out soon. Let's see if it has a date. This is just the trailer, so let me see if Boss Level actually has a release date and where it's actually headed, and if it's going to be on demand or if it's like an Amazon Prime film. Boss Level, IMDb, do they give us any release information? Apparently Boss Level Rotten Tomatoes says this was done in 2019. So actually this is a delayed release. And this is coming out March 5th, 2021.
Nice.
I think this is going to be a video on demand.
Oh, gotcha. Cool. I like it. I'd give it a crack. I mean,
yeah, why not?
Sounds like fun. We've done that. I know that we did a video on demand, like go ahead and buy it like a new movie with with something right when lockdown started with old big boobs Betty Gilpin. What was it? The Hunt, I think it was.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was good, but it was one of those that we bought. It was like, I might as well buy it because what the hell else are we going to watch? I don't think we ever watched it again. That was probably not the best $20.
Not a bad idea. Yeah, probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. So anyway, well, cool. And this next one, oh my God, Oxtra. I think you threw this at me and Johnny the other day in the chat that we keep going. Sharks and Nazis and zombies getting together in the Sky Sharks. This is it, and it's only a 1 minute, isn't it? It's only a 1 minute trailer, and they got a lot into this 1 minute trailer. And I didn't need 10 seconds of this 1 minute trailer to tell you that even though Tony Todd is in that, and and I've met the man, and he came by our booth at Grand Rapids Comic Con when I wasn't there, and was chatting up my wife, and sat in the captain's chair, and he smelled like weed, reportedly, which, hey, it's legal. But he's quite a character. The man doesn't age, but he's playing obviously some kind of military official. He's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs or something. Putting martial law in the skies because we've got heavily weaponized flying sharks. We've got defrosted Nazis. I don't know if that means that's a part of that series, which has been in the past. Remember the one where they, frozen Nazis in Norway or something?
There was, what was it, Black Snow or something like that. Then there was also Nazis on the moon, like they've been hiding out on the moon, secretly creating a space force.
Not the Space Force.
I know. I don't want to get political or anything, but yeah. But apparently that was that series of movies. So there's a lot out there. I think it was called Iron Skies was the name of that series with the zombies in space. But this is like. It looks totally like weird and crazy and fun, and you know what? We got tons of the movies when we were kids, Robot Jocks, all those things. This is nothing new, but you know what? They're having fun, and why not play with it? It's essentially the next evolution of Sharknado.
Right, exactly. There's something that absolutely needed to evolve without a doubt. So, anyway, moving on, Todd. It looks like. Things might be kind of status quo when it comes to movie releases.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We keep hearing about, no one really knows when entertainment, for the most part, live entertainment or entertainment around other people, will get back to normal. It's just so many variables, and no one wants to really take a chance at this point. So all of those release dates we thought we were getting in 2021 for at least the first quarter to first half kind of all moved out. I mean, James Bond, that's been moved again from April to October 8th. Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho, which is, I guess it's a new kind of series of movies he made, obviously, Shaun of the Dead and things like that. He's making a new series of films. That's April 23rd, now moving to October 22nd. Ghostbusters Afterlife from June to November 11th. The Uncharted movie, July to February 11th, 2022. Morbius, October to January 21, 2022. The Kingsman.
Wow, holy cow.
20th. Bob's Burgers, completely off the schedule, just kind of crazy, but, I didn't even know that movie was done. Honestly.
I hadn't heard a peep about it, so yeah, I guess that's more surprising than not.
Yeah, and it just seems like that would make more sense just to put that release it on TV or just Disney Plus or Hulu or whatever. But oh well. And then Quiet Place Part 2 moving from April to September 17th. And apparently Peter Rabbit 2 and Cinderella are also moving from early in the year till summer. Black Widow has still not gotten any type of, I guess discussion about that changing at all, but I don't know. It's going to be one of those weird things where it's like, I don't know how much more you can really push these things out because they have to eventually start making money off of these things to make the next thing. So I don't know. I just feel like, and we talked about, we always used to have a summer movie wager, and I'm like, you know what? We should just have one anyways, and it's going to be silly because it's going to be like these stupid ass small movies that nobody will guess, and I think it'll still be entertaining, a lot harder. And not the big films, and we probably won't see any of them, but it'd still be fun. I mean, come on, what was that one movie with Sally Field that we always made fun of?
Oh my God, I can't remember, but I can see it.
Needs a Vacation or something.
Yeah, it's something at home or like the diner. I don't know, something weird.
But we always had movies like that. Always snuck into the list.
Right, yeah.
So-
When we were doing the movie, the weekly thing,
Yeah.
it probably doesn't even exist anymore because how could it?
Yeah. That
but-
business is not
Yeah,
gone
right.
well. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, like what were the top films last summer? It was whatever, it was like a re-release of Jaws, or was a re-release of Jurassic Park because they were at the drive-ins. And they were
It was
packing
Bad Boys for Life. That was the biggest movie of the year, right?
before things shut down, but I'm talking about last summer.
Oh yeah,
that was all that was out
nothing.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so stone cold. My God, it's crazy. So yeah, and again, I'll talk more about this when we get kind of my part of the promotional, or excuse me, the predictional model.
Yeah, yeah. I feel bad for theaters because I think they were just really hoping they're like, oh, things are going to change. We'll be back in business in 2021, and even if they do come back, guess what? There's going to be nothing to show that will bring in big crowds. So
Right.
I think it becomes a scenario like even if they do open, nobody's going to go nuts for Sky Sharks Part 2 or whatever it is.
I haven't made it to. Well, it's like I was just hashing out our schedule, our tentative schedule for Code 47 for the rest of the year, and we're doing recaps. And I was telling Alex, my partner, I said once we get a new show, then this will get pushed back, and we'll be doing a new episode every week. And there's nothing. I mean, I think Star Trek Prodigy, which is the Nickelodeon animated program, could be the next thing, but I keep scouring for news, and we don't have it. Strange New Things, starring Anson Mount and Ethan Peck and Rebecca Romaine, about Captain Pike and his Enterprise. That's supposed to be in production. Picard goes back into production Feb 1, and there was just a story that Patrick Stewart got his COVID vaccine and he's excited to get back to work. But does that mean we're going to see all these things in December? Does it mean we're not going to see all these things in December? There's just no way to know. There's just no way to know. So it's tough. Yeah, it's unprecedented. But what's not unprecedented is this next story, because it's the same old. So, Todd, if you could give me your top 5 terrible Marvel storylines from the mid-90s to the end of the 90s, even just give me 3. Give me 3.
Oh boy, that's a tough one. So, God, it's gotta be. There was a really bad mutants one. It was like the Phalanx story. That was really bad.
Was it one of those like they did it in the summer annuals and it was like,
yes.
Oh yeah, that was very big in the 90s. For me, here we'll do 3. You do 1 and I do 1, and then I'll talk about this story. Mine was, of course, the from 1994 and 95 was the Clone Saga in Spider-Man. It crossed all of the titles. In the end, it said that the Peter Parker that we've known since the 1970s was a clone, not the real Peter Parker, which turned out to be bullshit. But then it rebranded this clone, Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, as the new Spider-Man, and it turned him into a basically a clone of the culture at the time. He worked in a coffee shop. He had trendy friends. It was like Spider-Man Friends. The sitcom Friends. It was bad. He had blonde hair. He had a ridiculous costume, and it's what actually dislodged me for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, that was just right before. That was after. That was. I think it was right around the time we met. So
exactly.
Yeah, you were kind of into comics. Yeah.
I was disengaging. I started reading, Star Trek comics and whatever, and I just got the hell away from. But the real stinker, the real capper, and this ran, no pun intended, the real capper, it ran between 1996 to 1997 or early 98, was Heroes Reborn. Now this was, and again, it's an X-Men story that kicked it off. It was Onslaught, which was, trying to remember, wasn't it Professor X and Magneto got the Fly got combined into one body, or what was the story?
Oh God, it's a little dicey, but this is following, I believe, Age of Apocalypse, where Professor Xavier was killed accidentally by Legion and created this extra timeline where there was no Xavier, blah, blah, blah. This is a post story of that, where essentially there was a remnant of Magneto in Professor Xavier's psyche that created this weird, it's kind of like, that dark, it's like the dark half, right, Charlie, where something, it's actually a non-corporeal being who becomes real that causes, that was exactly what it was. Basically became this merger of the two and became this force for evil and could not be taken down. It emerged from the X-Men, and then they, everybody got involved in the crossover to take it down. Yeah, which then created this weird alternate reality to save Marvel Comics.
To save Marvel Comics.
Or at least the Avengers and Fantastic Four and all those properties that were not doing well at the time.
And did it work? Marvel's still here, so I don't know. But yeah, it was bad stuff. But anyway, now Marvel thinks it's an awesome idea to bring that back. So merging of heroes and villains. So I'm looking at this article, and this is something that's going to be coming out in I think these were April solicits that we're dropping. So we have Doom Nod or Jugger Doom. You got a combination of those two. What else we got going on here in these covers? We got Scarlet Witch with the Enchantress. I can't quite tell. What else we got going on here? Peter Parker.
Is it the Enchantress or is it Jean Grey?
Yes, it could be. Well, it's just the outfit kind of looked like the Enchantress.
Yeah, and Jean Grey had that Marvel Girl outfit. Yeah.
So there you go. And we've got Spider-Man and a foot. It's just a weird cover. You got Agents of Shield, Ben Grimm and Reed Richards. I could see reading that. Coulson's running for president. Very exciting. I don't get how this Hulk one is. He looks like he's choking out a dinosaur. I don't know. But I love this Alpha Flight, like cyborgs to the moon or something. I mean,
yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, the one with
that's like Weapon X Wolverine.
Yeah, the Thanos one doesn't really look like.
And Shaman must be the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. As you scroll to the bottom, it actually tells you, it says, as for the story itself, Heroes Reborn begins with the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and Doctor Doom being reborn after seemingly dying while fighting the X-Men villain Onslaught. Again, who was the creation of Charles Xavier and Magneto's combined consciousness. Wasn't that that's the old story? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it's based on, but yeah, we don't know how this is.
Right.
Yeah, we don't really, I don't see. Yeah, I don't see what is going to tip this off, Charlie. Did they even say?
I'm scrolling back up again, but it's just a lot of it seems like.
Oh, okay. So it says, whatever happened to Earth's mightiest heroes is the tagline, the teaser. Yeah.
Drawing comparison to the Infinity Warps, that was a mini series. I remember reading a few of them. It was like Moon Knight put together with Spider-Man or some crazy weird bullshit. So, Shield, Phil Coulson for president, Hulk battling aliens in space, yada yada yada. It was Thanos revealing a different Infinity Gauntlet. What's different about it? Looks exactly. He's got rings like they're rings. So he's got rings like the Mandarin.
Charlie, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know. If these end up straying into titles I already read, obviously I'll end up sampling them. But I don't need. I've been burned way too many times by these gimmicky crossovers. I loved Empire, but I really didn't love War of the Realms. So I feel the need to sit this one out unless I get sucked into it because, again, I subscribe to, and they're running really late, so I'm really off kilter with my print subs, but I subscribe to Fantastic Four and Avengers and Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, so we'll see what comes my way.
Yeah, I with what made War of the Realms I enjoyed because I didn't read all the extra stuff. I think that's where you get into the trouble of.
Could be.
Yeah, it just gets to be too much, and then it just dilutes what's really good about it. But then it does get to be hard when they do add all these pieces. It's like, what did I miss? But yeah. Oh well. I this could be entertaining. I don't know really what it's going to be. If it's just going to be a bunch of one shots, it could be fun, kind of like what they did with Amalgam. That could be fun too. You just find the ones you like, and it's just a one-off, and that's fun too. So, why not? I will go into my predictions, and it probably will echo some of this stuff we've just been talking about. But the last story is just hilarious because it just makes me wonder, really, how we are going to survive as a group of human beings that they'll look at our entertainment after a while and they're like, did they stop making original things like after the year 1992? Because we keep going back to all of these same characters and stories, and we try to take a different approach to them. And sometimes it works, but a lot of times it just feels like it's apathy. Everybody just doesn't care, and it just dies on the vine. So it's like you could have taken all those dollars and those creative people and done something new and original, but you gave us this crap. Because the last time we saw Willy Wonka on the big screen was a weirdo Tim Burton making Johnny Depp look like Michael Jackson, and it was very creepy and weird.
Did they do two of them, or no? That was Alice in Wonderland, which was also which to me kind of all seems like the same shit, because I don't know that I paid attention seriously to either one of them.
The first one was okay. The second one was like, yeah, it was Died on the Vine, did horribly at the box office. Yeah, but yeah. So, and it's funny because this is Warner Brothers, so most likely this will come to HBO Max. They're doing Wonka, which is essentially a prequel telling us how Willy Wonka came to be. And you know what? We love prequels because you know what? It's taking the mystery away from characters is the best thing to do, right, Charlie?
Absolutely, yes. Tell me everything. Tell me what they had for breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, Darth Vader became so much cooler when we found out he didn't like sand, was a bad husband and a father, and then and then worked for a horrible boss. I mean, that should be a new game, Charlie. We explain. I think we've done this. We've seen the memes where like explain this in a different fashion. We should do that one. We should do that one episode. We have to guess what the movie is, but that's on the side. But they are making this movie. The interesting part is the actors being bandied about that potentially could be cast as the young Willy Wonka. One, Tom Holland, which we all know, which I guess could happen.
Sure.
I mean, it's very weird. You look at him and think of like Gene Wilder, maybe.
It's acting. They can do
exactly. Yes. Good day, sir. Yes. More of that, please. Yes. And then Timothée Chalamet, which he's going to be in Dune. He was in Saturday Night Live. That's really the first time I actually got to experience him. Everybody thinks he's super dreamy. He's a New Yorker, so I guess that could work too. He kind of looks more like a young Johnny Depp playing Willy Wonka.
Oh no, they're bringing it all back around.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. This just seems like a bad idea, but you know, and the people who are making this are let me look really quick if I can see who's actually behind this thing. I'm trying to look and see who the creative geniuses behind this are. And can't see it, but yeah, this could yes. Can you just pay me the money you would waste on this and call it even?
That would be terrific.
Come on ahead, Charlie.
Direct pay system. Can I just PayPal myself the money back again?
Yeah. If you pay me, you'll lose far less time, energy, and money by just paying me not to see this.
Exactly. There you go. There's the real investment.
It's a proactive bankruptcy.
Oh my!
I declare bankruptcy.
Oh my goodness!
You can't just say it, Michael.
Proactive bankruptcy. The money is in the banana stand.
That's right. There's always money in the banana stand. Oh well, that is it for stories this week. Hope you had fun along the way as we have news, we scour the webs, and we bring it to you guys.
You got it. But what happens next? Where do we go? What do we got to do?
Well, Charlie, because football playoffs are on, the Geeky is rolling out a black and white TV for us to watch the games. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting outside the Geeky. They've rolled out the black and white TV to show us the NFL playoffs, and we are ready to get our nerd on. My goodness, Charlie. I'm back on the elliptical bandwagon, so I'm working out, and that means I actually watch a lot of stuff. Which is, yes, it's like the carrot I need because I don't love to do like cardio stuff, but I need to. My shoulders is hopefully getting better and better every day, so I need to do something to get my body moving. So, and it's cold outside, so that's what I do. So one of the things I had been watching, thanks to Charlie on Apple TV, I finished Ted Lasso. It's fantastic. See it, you won't regret it. It's so heartwarming. One of the best shows I've seen in a long time. But next show I wanted to check out because I heard good things about it was a show called Mythic Quest. This is by the bearded guy, Mac, from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He is the showrunner for this. He's also the star. He plays a guy named Ian who basically created this multiplayer video game, kind of like World of Warcraft or something like that. And it's really about the daily operation of this game, but all the personalities are really what makes it funny. It's not really about video games. It's just the background. Just like, It's Always Sunny is about a bar, but it's much more than a bar. Same thing here. Funny characters. Abed, I can't remember his name. Danny Putty, I believe. He basically plays like their marketing director. You've got Cricket, who's on It's Always Sunny, plays basically the product manager. You've got F. Murray Abraham, who's kind of like the story guy who creates the stories for this game, and then you've got some other characters as well. So and it just goes, every episode's themed. It's 30 minutes long, but it's very good. It's very entertaining. Like the last episode I watched was funny because they found out there was a group of like Nazis playing their game, like neo-Nazis. So like, how do we get rid of them? What can we do? And there was like a sidebar about like making an ethics committee of who we're not going to allow in the game. Like, and so they get all this group of people for inclusiveness to that. And so basically by the time they were done, like the amount of people that they could actually have in their game, they've excluded 97% of their audience because they've said, oh, I don't like people who smile. It was pretty funny. And then the other sidebar was about this, one of the lead programmers, who's a funny British girl. She basically made this new a function called Dinner Party, where people can get together and chat and care about things. Well, she created this. Well, I don't want to give away too much more, but it's very funny. The whole thing was all about how do they get rid of these Nazis and the different methods they had to go across. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it's really fun. I think it's been renewed for a second season. But once again, it's one of those shows, if you watch it for like the first 3 episodes, I think you'll finally get to understand where the characters' motivations are. A lot of fun. So check it out. It's on Apple TV Plus, Mythic Quest. It's a good time, and it's a half-hour comedy, so everybody's got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, I watched like an hour-long thing while I'm on the treadmill. I've just got just enough time to start watching something else, and while I'm cooling down, I'll watch like something short. So it's perfect for me. The next thing I did was read a comic, Charlie.
What? You did?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Marvel Unlimited. Now with having a 3-month delay from new books thing, it makes it really nice because you get some recency. You don't have to worry about anything really being spoiled. I'm horrible about going to comic book shops weekly. I don't really do the subscriptions anymore. I like going to comic book shops for more collections and things like that, like a trade or something like that, or something that's meant to be collected. But Maestro is basically it's a reemergence of an old classic comics duo. That would be Peter David writing, who is a great writer on Hulk, and Dale Keown, who basically was, I don't know whatever happened to him, but he was supposed to be like the next it guy at Marvel, kind of like the Todd McFarlane type. He was going to be the guy. He debuted in Hulk and everybody loved his stuff, and then he just never found success. He went to Image, but his book never really, it was called The Pit, never found much success. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad to see that they're finally repairing. Peter David's still an excellent writer. Glad to see him be able to get some more work, and he created this character called the Maestro, I'd say like 20 years ago, which was essentially the future version of the Hulk. He gray beard, kind of balding, and he was essentially a despot villain. And that was the worst thing that Bruce Banner always worried about this, because he knew that if something went wrong, he would eventually go down the path to become the Maestro. So it's kind of like one of those things, how do I not become my worst nightmare? And Hulk has always been about differing personalities that Bruce Banner created because of an abusive father. And this is potentially that he was going to have to deal with. So and so that was a one-shot called Future Imperfect that Peter David did. It was kind of one of those prestige format, like 2 parts that Marvel did every once in a while, but they never revisited this character. Well, Peter David decided to revisit this character with his partner, Dale Keown. And I've read the first issue. It's excellent. It's really good. It's really all about kind of more of how the Maestro becomes. So basically it's a prequel to that story, but considering that was just a one-off, we never got more of the character, I'm perfectly fine with it being kind of like how he came to be. And it's kind of neat to see how he's interacting with the world and the villains around him and the people around him. So I'm enjoying it. I think you might like it too, Charlie. You don't have to know a whole lot about the Hulk, but I think it's fun. It's one of those like Old Man Logan type of stories. So, and I think this is one of the things where it's like an alternate future, but it's not necessarily canon. But I don't know canon. You know me and about canon. I don't really care. It doesn't have to get in the way of good stories.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you could, I like the alt take as well, as long as it's really defined as that, because it can be a throwaway, or certainly when you shift gears to something like Star Wars, there's so much alt canon now with the EU, which was pre 2014 being tossed out, that things can kind of get rolled back in. So, but I mean, comics, Marvel or DC, so much bigger than all that. So yeah, good stories are good stories, if you find them. So that's good. I'm glad that you found something in Marvel Unlimited. I need to spend more time there. I have kind of gotten away from my nightly comic reading, just having discovered more shows and stuff. But I really should get back to it, because the only time I'm really reading comics is when I'm on the bed, donating plasma, when I'm doing that twice a week. So that's my comic reading time. So really got to get back to it. I know that I've collected a lot less new comics because they just started piling up. But that's again something I'll talk about when we get to our prediction segment. So
yeah, where do you hide that digital pile, Charlie?
It's in El Claudo.
Okay.
So, but speaking of El Claudo, Todd actually turned me on to, tighten up your sphincter, purchasing a video game in the last week. I know, clutch the pearls. But as I've said many times, and Todd has always tried to turn me around, my interest in video games begins and ends with the Lego games. I started out playing them probably 15 years ago with my oldest son, Noah, and it just, I very much a fondness of that, and I found out that I was good at it, and I found out that I enjoyed it. So I played most of them, and I've replayed most of them as I've gone through owning a Wii, to owning an Xbox 360, to the fact that, now we have a PS4, and I was subscribed. I'm subscribed kind of on and off to PlayStation Now, which has all those older games. I just played Clone Wars, the Star Wars Clone Wars again, because that one has been out of print for years. Played it and beat it, which I don't know that I ever beat it before. So that was pretty cool. So anyway, Todd hits me up earlier this week. Hey, Lego DC Supervillains is on sale. That's a game from 2018. But he said it's a deluxe edition, $75 for $18.75. So I'm like, well, how am I going to pass that up? That's fantastic. So it's a digital download, so I downloaded it to my system, and I started playing it earlier this week. Now, I haven't gone very far, but it's open world, like most of the latter Lego games are. But what's really fun is that in the first segment of it, you have to escape in Metropolis from Stryker's Island, like Rikers Island. Thank you very much. Very clever. But yeah, it's Lex Luthor, and then he's got Mercy Graves, which is his sidekick chick, and then not Harley, but Cheetah, and Solomon Grundy, which was the first villain cosplay I ever rolled out. I took a suit and cut it up with scissors, and I'm Solomon Grundy, which got some white makeup. I've never actually gone all the way with it, but someday I totally should do that one, because it's super simple. And he has a rope for a belt. But what's also fun in that first segment is that you immediately customize a character to be a functional part of the story mode, which is brand new. That's not something I've seen in one of these games before. So I did mine. I was kind of surprised. I was like, whoa, I don't really know what to do. I just hit random, and it gave me a character with long white hair, a mask like Bane, and for weapons, I shit you not, 2 tennis rackets.
Solomon Bundy,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I totally enjoyed that. And then as far as I've gotten, the story rolls out that the Justice League shows up, Joker and Harley show up, but then and I know I've read about this, Ultraman, who is another Earth Superman, but it's like the dickhead Justice League. They show up.
Yeah, the Injustice Society, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. They show up and they snap away the Justice League to an alt dimensions, which kind of takes them out of the game. But now Joker and Harley are like, this doesn't work for me, so we're going to have to get a gang together and do something about this, and that's where I'm at in the game. So what you do is you hop in, you build a van, and then you have to drive around Gotham City and pick up villains, and it kind of points you an arrow. It tells you where you're getting close. You got to pick up the Riddler. You got to pick up...
So it's an Uber. You're an Uber.
Yeah, you're an Uber, but it's it's a delivery truck. So that's, and then you got to do things like to get them loose, and the little side quests, and you can see where stuff is going to open up when you go back and in free mode and pick up all the stuff. And so I love that. It's fun. I dig those. It's not complicated. I don't feel like I'm overwhelmed because I'm like Arkham Knight. I'm like, oh, what do I got to do this thing? And it's dark. I can't see anything. And or like you and I were talking about in the pre-roll about that Star Wars Squadrons, that you're like, oh, I'm flying a TIE fighter, but I'm in VR and now I feel like I'm going to throw up because I keep spinning in circles. So I like the low maintenance aspect of it. Makes me feel more comfortable. So
yeah. I was saying I don't know if the deluxe edition includes the season pass, but there's a season pass for the game too, Charlie.
Oh, well, I would imagine it does, and I haven't really looked into that, but that's generally speaking when I played those other games, I did like the deluxe edition of like Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens. It had character packs. Where I did Lego Batman 3 had like the Man of Steel, and it had all that stuff.
The
like,
season pass does not include, or the deluxe edition does not include the season pass. So it's got some of the things, but not all the things.
Whatever. Whatever it has, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. I'll be good with it.
Exactly. You can get the season pass for like $5. So
I think I probably by the time I get to that point, I probably will do that. So anyway, Todd, did you catch WandaVision already?
I did, and I have thoughts.
You have very good. So anyway, this is the second week WandaVision has been on Disney Plus. In week 1, we got the first 2 episodes. They're roughly 30 to 35 minute segments, so it's sitcom-y, for lack of a better term. We started building some suspense in episodes 1 and 2, and we talked about that. We talked about that last week, didn't we?
We did talk about 1 and 2. Yes.
Yes, very good. That's what I thought.
Very short.
So anyway, this is where things in what is in I want to call it Westdale. It's West something, the town they live in, which is West Haverbrook, which is obviously a very Truman Show kind of deal. That Wanda is clearly imprisoned in, but she's brainwashed and doesn't remember. Well, this episode they do this crazy jump into the 1970s. They have a different house. It looks like the Brady Bunch house, but like the angles are switched. And Vision has the moppy blonde hair and the brown suit, and she's dressed like a 70s housewife, and she was impregnated through magic or somehow in the last episode, and she has the gag through this episode is that she's getting further along in her pregnancy over like 48 hours, and she there's a bunch of sitcom-y silly stuff, and the doctor and Vision somehow has super speed, has to pick up the doctor, and all this different stuff. But the real crux of the episode is we get to the end, and she gives birth to twins, Thomas and William, which that's right from the comics. We've talked about that vis-a-vis Mephisto and Master Pandemonium, the West Coast Avengers, and the fact that the children were figments of her imagination, blah, blah, blah. But
for the children.
In later continuity, they somehow turn into the Young Avengers characters Speed and Wiccan, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I should know more about that, but I don't. Shame on, yeah, right. So at the end of it, Wanda's kind of, looking at her babies, and Geraldine, who's the African-American woman who's her neighbor that we met in the last episode, is looking at her shoulder, and she says, well, I had a brother. His name was Pietro. She goes, oh, didn't he get killed by Ultron? And Wanda goes, like, what the fuck did you just say? And things drop out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see what looks like the edge of town. It's dark. There's a billboard, and a red bubble appears in the air, and Geraldine gets flung out of it onto the grass. Bonk, 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 bonk. And all these emergency vehicles pull up, and she picks up her head and was like, oh, what that, like, talk about, I said the wrong thing. So, yeah, the game is afoot.
Absolutely.
Wanda knows that something is rotten in River City. The game is afoot. So I think in episode 4, and then I saw a blurb in the last couple of days of Paul Bettany, who's the Vision, of course, says episode 4 is going to blow your mind. So
nice.
we are rolling now. So what is your thought, Todd?
Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts about this one. Obviously, I dig the Brady Bunch deal. It's very cool. This obviously episode was using all the tropes of the classic pregnancy in a sitcom. The goofs and the oofs and the funnies, and trying to hide the pregnancy and revealed and along the way, obviously, when Wanda's going through like her contractions, things are going wackily around the house, like a stork is walking around the house, and all the distraction and the funny bits. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I thought about is, where is this heading, and what exactly is this pulling from? Is it pulling across a specific storyline, or is it just merging lots of different comic book storylines? And one of the things that made me think about this was, the classic trope of creating a world that you are in because it's your own fantasy, trying to keep it together, or someone is trying to keep you in a world and they want to subdue you because, they want to take you over or something like that. So it's like you're in your perfect dream world, but, that's to keep you pacified because something else is going on. So in this instance, what made me think about this is I think something has obviously tipped off Wanda to a point that she's broken. Don't know what caused it. We don't know. Apparently this show was supposed to be really just right post Avengers Endgame. So she didn't seem like she was losing it at the end of that movie, but who knows? Maybe she had, she lost, both Vision, and she had lost her brother previously. Don't know. She lost Cap along the way. So don't really know what would have caused her to break, but I think she's created this world around her, and as she gets distracted, she can't keep the pieces together. So I think that's where you start seeing like the one guy cutting through like the wall or with his hedge trimmer. Yeah. And I think that's what part of it is. It's basically she's not able to keep everything under control. And someone mentioned this too as a podcast I was listening to. The people that are in the world that she's created don't represent like what you would have seen in sitcoms in the past because of the diversity, like you've got people of different. So someone's saying basically, we think these are people she knows from a sword or something that she's either trapped in that world. And that's why they look the way they do. And that's why that's why like, what's her name? Agnes, was kind of, she was about to say something, but didn't. So it's maybe one of those things like that was that classic Twilight Zone or Amazing Stories where the little kid who controls things, if someone finds out, they kill them or they force them out. So I think that's part of it. I think they know they're part of this. They are just playing along with Wanda's game because they know bad things will happen if they get found out. So that's where I'm thinking I'm headed. And one other thing, Charlie, I was hearing about this deep cut. There was a mutant named Lila Miller who was introduced in House of M, who basically had the ability to basically break through alternate realities. That was one of her abilities. So she may be included in this, and she might have to be the one that basically brings her out. And basically bringing in a mutant to this could be the entryway where we get all this resolved. But I'm really excited because I love this. It's obviously it's the perky, positive pop of those sitcoms, plus there's just the sinister underlying what's going to happen next. So I love that they're doing this. Yeah.
Very kitschy, and again, you're touching on a lot of storylines like the House of M that I'm not familiar with, but there, the internet in general is running rampant with wild theories about, well, this could be, are they going to bring Evan Peters in as Quicksilver because he was the Fox Quicksilver, and is this thing going to happen? Is that thing going to happen? So I'm dying to find out. It's only 9 episodes, so we're now a third of the way through. And then God, when they get into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that's only 6 episodes. So it's like the storytelling you'd like to think that everything that's happening is very significant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they have their work cut out for them because they only have typically like this episode was like 22 minutes if you take out the end credits and things. So yeah, that's not a lot of room to work with from a story perspective. I like cutting out the fat. But still, are they going to maybe potentially increase the length of the episodes if they need to, which I think would be a great option that they would have versus, obviously being on TV or trapped into either 22 minutes or 48 minutes of story.
Right. Exactly. Right. So totally cool. But yeah, that's it for me. Look forward to the show that does drop every Friday at 3 a.m. here Eastern time if you're a diehard. But we always watch it right.
Charlie's always up by then anyways because he's got his Blue Plate special.
Exactly.
He's old. Oh, just kidding.
What are you talking about, you old bastard? I still got my hair.
You've already applied for your ARP card. I know you, Charlie.
No. My favorite ARP story is that you can be on ARP Junior or whatever when you turn 40. So my mother got that for me. And then she said, well, I couldn't have got it. I got it for you, but I couldn't have got it for your brother because he would curse me out, I'm sure. I'm like, I'm sure he would. I don't give a shit. It's really never been of any benefit to me, but I
get weird stuff in the mail too, like, for your retirement. I'm like, what did somebody do the same thing? Did somebody prank me and put me on a list for senior citizen stuff? Because, I am kind of a grumpy old guy, but, not that old yet. Yes. Well, that's it for what we've been geeking out about. As always, tell us on Twitter and let us know what you love as well in the world of nerd. But with that, Charlie, we are heading out to our favorite vacation destination where everyone's been vaccinated and movies are releasing, and that's the Thunderdome.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, we're talking predictions, Charlie.
Worked out so good for 2020.
Yeah, and the funny part was, so I found my predictions for, and this was episode 197, where we had 2019 predictions. And we didn't review those, so it's funny. So basically, we're just going to look at those and see if they ever came to be, because we never reviewed them and we never relooked at our predictions from that area. So we're just going to regurgitate them out to see if they came true. But obviously, Charlie, your predictions were MIA, so we assume the swine flu got them.
Oh, I know. Yes, gobbled them right up.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. So basically this works. We do our predictions. We have movies, TV, comics, and then we call, games. Back in the day, we did talk a little bit of games. We don't do that anymore, obviously. And then we basically this year we added a potpourri/event area. So I'll very quickly go through my 2019 predictions for 2020. And I said Marvel announces their first animated movie, and it's the X-Men. Wow. Even a year later, Charlie, still hasn't happened.
Yeah, exactly. Not buying it.
Yes. And then I said for TV, I said DC announces a Secret Six series on DC Unlimited, which should have been DC Universe. And it did not happen because DC Universe doesn't even exist anymore. It died this week, and DC Universe Infinite happened, and now all the DC shows are on HBO Max. So that Secret Six series I still think would be awesome. It's kind of like the Suicide Squad, but with it's a different mix on it. I really like it. It's a cool series. It's really villains just doing stuff together for their own cause versus being forced by the government. So that has not happened. Then we move on to comics, Charlie. I said Marvel announces Acts of Vengeance 2 series now with 100% more vengeance. Did that happen?
I don't think so. Did it?
See, I don't think so either. No. But that would be one of those, series that I think still could work.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a good concept. Villains switching up the heroes they fight. Because they could go, in a whole new direction with characters that maybe weren't even around back in 1989 when they did that series. So, but yeah, come on, Marvel or whatever, make it happen. Where's the beef?
That was what was his name? X Vengeance. That was basically they teamed up the different villains against different heroes.
And it was Loki was driving the bus on that one, but he was undercover as Mr. Johnson or something. He was totally he was trying to drive it. And in the end of it, I actually have the graphic novel. I finished reading it.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see more of that coming out. Marvel does like to repeat their events. And I said games. Sony has an E3 replacement in the fall, and that is when the PS5 is announced, with released in first half of 2020. That did not happen. Sony didn't have an event. They did have an event in the summer this year that really announced PS5, and that launched successfully. Retro Studio, owned by Nintendo, announces their new game, which is a co-op adventure game. It will take on PvE games like Destiny. Couldn't be a new IP or use Kid Icarus with Sakurai as the game director. Didn't happen either. And then Microsoft launches their all digital Xbox One fall 2019. Actually did occur. And it was $150, and they announced all access. It's $99 a year, Gold and Live combined. They kind of did something like that called basically created Game Pass Unlimited, which is $180 a year. So I failed at that, but it was close.
Oh well, you can't get them all. So okay. So I assume that it's my turn. You're interested.
Yes, 2021, Charlie. We're already a month in. So yeah, guys, give us some slack. So in the next 11 months, all of these things could happen, Charlie.
Absolutely. And again, I went a bit big picture. I didn't really drill it down to specific like what's going to be. I thought 10,000 foot, the bird's eye view, the 10,000 foot view. Though I don't know how a bird would get up that high. Talking about movies, what I said was. Things that we've already kind of touched upon even in this episode. I feel like home streaming is going to continue to dominate. Studios are going to have to buckle for 2021, and I'm not saying it's always going to be this way, to the Warner Brothers model that gave us Wonder Woman 1984 at home. Yes, it's not going to get them the bucks they want. But theaters are struggling. People, and we touched upon this, April and I, before, this time last year, we were weekly theater goers. We belonged to the VIP program at our local theater chain because we loved to go. That was date night for us. We'd get a bite after work and then we'd go see a movie. And we were doing that maybe twice a week because it was included in this package that we'd paid for. Now the theaters are open, but they're limping along. And even, like I said, that was my wife's thing. She doesn't want to go back. She's really very uncomfortable with the concept of going back there and doing that right now. So, a lot of them are not going to make it. It's unfortunate. That is the way business works, and from a geopolitical standpoint of it, we would love to see all small businesses find a way to weather, but it can't always be that way. I think the ones that survive into 2022 will see a roar when programming comes back because people will be like, I loved this thing. But even in the conversation that you and Johnny and I were having either today or yesterday, there's probably a lot of people out there who have discovered, I like being at home. I like watching shit on my TV. I like this thing or that thing and the convenience of being able to take a potty break like Todd's done twice during the show because we have
Charlie, that's a secret.
Oh, no. I'm telling all the secrets.
Well, buy me some astronaut diapers and we'll be good to go.
Oh, there we go. Astronaut grade diapers. So, yeah, I think that you're going to find that not all people will come back, but I think it may take a longer time. But, it's a different world we're living in. Things are certainly not going to be what they were. But for now, I don't necessarily see. And again, I'm afraid for even what we've talked about earlier in the show, that the big releases that we were counting on in 2020, Black Widow and the other couple Marvel films, whatever it is, are just not going to come to pass because I don't even know that the studios want to risk trying to put them in the movie theaters because they're not going to get the dollars they're looking for. So I don't know. My real answer is I don't know, but I don't think things are going to magically go back to the way they were in 2021.
Yeah, and quite honestly, we do not know how much longer some of these movie theaters can survive. So even if things, they try to do it, I assume there'll be far less theaters. Although I believe that was part of the last COVID package, was to protect some of these live events businesses like concert halls and things like that. So theaters were included in that. So hopefully that will allow them to bridge the gap because we don't want people to lose their jobs and we don't want to lose our theaters we love.
Right. Exactly correct. So how are we doing this then? Are you going to do yours or I'm just going to do all of mine?
Oh, yeah. We'll go back and forth. So you did movies. Right. I'll do my movies. Yes. Why not?
Go
Charlie,
right ahead.
I got a little more specific and granular, but I said Disney breaks and moves forward with an ultra premium rental for MCU films. And I said MCU, but I couldn't mean really their prestige films because they're already doing that with like Mulan for $30, and I think the next one is Raya and the Dragon, which is a Disney animated, which is $30 as well, but will also be in theaters. I just think that they're gonna have to have a way to just basically make some money off these things because if they keep pushing it back, they're not making money off their parks right now. They're losing revenue, and they can only make up so much from Disney Plus when a lot of people are still getting it for free. And a lot of people are on those deals like you and I had where, we paid up front and we're paid like, we were only it was a 30% discount, 40% discount.
Well, it was 3 years for $140, which then boils it down to like $3 a month or something like totally ridiculous. And then I got another year because of Verizon. So I'm not giving them don't have to give them any more of my money for quite some time to come.
Yeah. So quite honestly, even people say like that's what it's going to be, but I'm like, $3 a month versus a movie where people are going to spend 18. If they're $3 or $10 per person, it just gets to a point where it's like you just say the math doesn't work, and
right.
Are they going to make another MCU film for like $20 million and not pay their stars? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work. So they have to figure something out. And I'd say the premium rental, I'd say $50. I remember them talking about the home rental service. I think Steven Spielberg and some other directors saying they could eventually see these type of films being a home watch, for $80 or $100 if you invite your friends. So $50, I could see this happening. I really could if they want to do it. And you know what? And guess what? They could probably make enough money off it. And they say it's coming to Disney Plus in 6 months. And you can wait, and then it'll go to on demand and other areas as well, but still be in theaters. That's the only way I think this is going to pan out.
Exactly correct. So, well, cool. All right. So
I have another one.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Oh, you went a twofer. All right, go on.
Yeah,
go
I
on.
tried to do something a little bit different. What about my wheelhouse, Charlie? I don't know if you knew this, but MGM is actually looking to sell their film library and all of their properties. So, which is actually home to James Bond and some other properties as well. I think Apple, because they need a lot of content, will potentially buy someone. And I think it's really going to be MGM. It makes sense. James Bond is a prestige license and Apple is a prestige brand. So I think the two of them together where they could, put out, Apple TV Plus is pretty lean pickings right now, but just imagine if they were the home of Bond. That would be pretty cool.
That would be nuts. And again, if they're looking to sell, then you can't imagine that they don't have a reason for wanting to do that, they're looking for a ways to make their money, but again, in turn, in selling to someone like Apple, who's got all the money in the world, that you could see more content, you could see more. What about it? What about a James Bond television program? How exciting could that be? Animated or live action, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's cool news, and it would be great to see them become more of a player, showing down against Disney and Warner Brothers with the big streaming outfit. So neat.
Yeah, I thought that'd be kind of fun. They already have a Vegas casino, which Disney likes those type of things, and they could branch out to casinos. There's a lot there to chew on the bone. I said Disney, but Apple. I mean, they could do some fun things. So I like this. I think it's a great way for them to break into the content business. So Charlie, you got TV next.
Looking at 2020, obviously as a predictor, I think you're going to see networks continuing to shrink in genre content because we didn't have a lot to start with, and we're going into 2020. We're seeing the streaming services are going to keep racking up big wins with shows, like the MCU on Disney Plus that we were talking about, DC content over on HBO Max, starting to pitch it up. Cord cutting will roller coaster. It's really going to continue. I mean, you and I are great examples. I've not had a cable package in a real long time, and just been living off the internet and the services. So yeah, kind of both service providers and kind of traditional, broadcasting ad revenues, which is always what's driven content, is going to continue to change over to this new model. I mean, we were watching Veep, which was from a couple of years ago. It was on HBO, and they mentioned in several episodes CVS. CVS kept coming up. Product placement and that kind of stuff is going to continue to be king. That's where the dollars are going to be made, not your, traditional shop at, Bob's Burgers kind of advertisement. So I don't know. Things will simply continue to dovetail in a different direction.
Yeah. And I think to this point, Charlie, I think we'll even see some of these smaller services like a Shudder actually probably get absorbed by somebody else because I think the content's good. It becomes to the point where it just becomes too many. And yeah, you could do it, but then you lose. Nobody understands that actually service exists. It's advertising dollars where you can get people and faces. So I think we'll see more of that too. I think we'll see more absorption of a lot of these smaller services into them, and hopefully it doesn't turn into like a new cable system where it's $85 a month and you get everything, because that's where we were before, right?
Right. Exactamundo. So, all right, what is your brilliant notion?
So I have two. So I say Disney announces a new animated series for Star Wars, and it's based on the High Republic. We've seen Disney Plus and Disney make a lot of, it's been the Clone Wars, it's been what the Freelander. I don't even know what that thing was called.
Freelander was for Freelander Adventures or Chronicles or something.
Yeah, and then we had, obviously, we're getting the Bad Batch, and then we're getting, and then we also had Rebels. So animation has been part of Star Wars for quite a long time now, but I think it's time to say, what can we do that's not tied into, like we said, the previous eras that we've already explored? The High Republic is now a comic book series and book series. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't hurt anyone, the movies or whatever, or future storylines, to have an animated series based on this, whether it's using this, this animation style or that. And I think it introduces a bigger audience to that property, and it grows. And then if that takes off, maybe it turns into live action. I just would like to see this versus more of the same, exploring the same 30 years of Star Wars.
Same. I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
lastly, Charlie, the
Yes.
Walking Dead movies with Rick, those they were supposed to make those movies, finally
Oh, my
come
God.
out, and quite honestly, nobody cares.
And I, you know what, and I can verify that. Would this come to pass? I'm right there with you. I think we did a season pass to the last season because I feel like April likes it a whole lot more than me, but I have really checked out.
Yeah.
Really checked. Even when we're watching it, I'm looking at my phone. I just don't care. So you're right. There's that Rick left the show 3 years ago.
Sure, why not? I
And
can't
then
remember.
you're supposed to still, kind of have interest and then, the show jumped forward 6 years and blah, 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 blah. And kind of life goes on. It's not like his name comes up. So who cares? What diehards? I mean, there's always diehards of some kind, but where are they? And what's their voice? And what are they? Who do you hear screaming about? Where's my Rick Grimes show?
Nobody.
I don't hear it.
And did
I'm not-
anybody care about that news? What is it? The Walking Dead Beyond? Did anyone care about that show?
I haven't heard it. Has it been canceled already? I haven't heard a damn thing about it.
I didn't even think to try to turn it on because it sounded like it was just retreading the same old territory.
Well, and AMC doesn't do themselves any favors with not making themselves accessible to cord cutters. You know what I mean?
They do have the AMC Plus, which I think you can pay outside of that.
I don't even know when I was, and we may have even done a trial of that recently, and hopefully I canceled it, so I'm not getting dinged. But
Yep.
when it first came out, don't you remember the hoops we had to jump through to see the show? Like you would see a slick deals, get the season for $3 or whatever, and we would do it. But other than that, you had to buy the episodes.
$9 a month, Charlie, for AMC Plus if you want to see all of the shows of AMC and the new seasons.
which I don't. So that
There you
is
go.
like,
Well, there
yeah.
you go. It's available, and you don't care.
Precisely, exactly. So yeah, so big thumbs down for that one.
Yeah.
For me.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So then we transition to comics.
Comics. And I've talked about this a lot, certainly in the last 12 months. I've gone entirely digital, with the exception of the four print subscriptions that I had. I think Star Wars is the fourth one that I get, and this started within the last 2 years. So I would get the comics. I would not do anything with the code. Eventually, I would put the code in, just like, this way I'll hang on to it, and I would still read the print copies. And eventually, I got to the point when I said, look, I have a huge stack of print copies. It's a pain in the ass to read them and handle them and file them and shuffle them and do this thing and do that thing. I got to the point at some point in 2020 when I just said, enough is enough. I'm going entirely digital. And I would go to I had been going to my comic shop. I had been getting comics and filling up a punch card and using it to get merch. And I finally just said, look, this is just not for me. COVID made it super inconvenient. I didn't need them anymore. So there was a point earlier this year when I just sold a bunch of comics that paid for a different project. So in the end of it, I feel like comic shops affected by the fact that everybody is simplifying, people aren't going out as much, and if comic shops don't diversify, if they're not offering non-comic book merch, physical merch like the game stuff and the figures and the figurines, if they're not in that business, their fate will continue to be uncertain. I mean, it's hard for them to say, those print comic readers are really going to keep us alive. They're going to keep coming in every week, and we're going to have their pull, and we're going to make it more attractive, and we'll have more sales, and we'll do this, and we'll do that. I feel like, and I guess I'm not necessarily basing this on anything concrete, that a lot of people are like me. They're like, if I'm going to read a comic, I'm going to I will go to the bookstore and I'll pick up a trade because, Todd, you've said it, I missed issue 3 of this 5-issue arc. And, so it throws everything off. Well, if I go to Comixology, it's always there. They're never out of stock, and I can get it whenever the hell I want. Support local, I agree, but I think local is going to have to shift focus to the things that people can't buy digitally. And of course, Amazon is always going to be a terrible competition for that. That's for sure. But for people who have, for business owners that have a great relationship with their existing customers, they're going to have to provide different things in order to keep people coming in.
That's a hard ask, unfortunately, though, with the world of COVID, because a lot of the shops that do things, typically they're a lot of more of in-person events, like they do Pokemon events, they do, gaming, and and unfortunately you just can't do that. So it's like they're in a bad spot. But I will say this: media, especially when it's available digital, you have to do something completely different than just offer the same product physically. And to your point, Charlie, giving them deluxe editions, maybe it's on to the publishers to say, we're not going to do weekly anymore or monthly or whatever. We're going to do deluxe edition books to get people that the only place you can get it is here versus the same product on a device. It just doesn't work. Nobody does that. Nobody goes to a specific store to get a specific thing anymore. It just doesn't work. What other markets do you have to go to a specific place to get a thing?
Right, exactly. So the specialty.
A fertility clinic, and that's about it.
Yeah, that would be very specific. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it for me. What are you thinking about when it comes down to the product aspect of it? What do you think?
So I've got a couple of specific events. So Marvel revisits Atlantis Attacks and Charlie Swoons. So that was one of those bad events for Marvel. Not good. Yeah. But Marvel. Yeah. But I was going to say, Namor is a character. I just feel like he's never had his time in the sun. And we don't know anything about when Namor will be brought into the MCU anytime soon. And I think I don't think of any like Namor fantastic stories. He's always a part of something, but never have you looked at a Submariner book and said, oh, remember this classic storyline? No, because nobody does.
Well, except for Atlantis Attacks. He had, much like a lot of characters in that kind of late 80s, early 90s, he had a John Byrne run like the She-Hulk did. Yeah. Which, again, John Byrne being one of my favorite creators, of course, I'm very biased about it. But while I'm not super familiar with it, I'm familiar with the fact that it happened. That's as much as I can say. But, Namor had a run as one of the Avengers on the Prime team in the late 80s. But again, Namor, kind of like Cyclops, has always kind of been an asshole. Yeah. So maybe that's a part of it.
And he's been a wife stealer too, right? Or tried to steal Sue Richards all the time.
Yes, and then of course Cyclops. It was his, it was his mental affair with the White Queen, wasn't it, with Emma Frost?
Oh, Charlie, I have to take back my my guess because apparently there was an Atlantis Attacks series in 2020. So
that's right. Oh no, well, Atlantis Attacks 3.
Okay, sure, exactly. Or just pulse in another event with Namor. But yeah, to your point, there was a good run of Namor when it was, I think it was Jay Lee did the art, was really beautiful. I remember the cover was like one of those holographic foil covers in 1993, but that's about the last time I cared about him.
I know. I hear you. Hear you. All right, what else you got?
Yeah, and then I said DC has a crisis event. Because they have one every year, it seems like. Why not? They reboot, they do things. It's what they do. It's in their blood since the mid '80s. But it's going to revert everything, Charlie, to the Batman '66 universe. So not just Batman, but it's going to be all of because we've never seen. That was kind of a isolated just to Batman. But just imagine if you get Batman '66 with Superman, Green Lantern, the villains from everywhere. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Right, exactly. So dial back Cyborg, or exactly, to take it outside of it. I would read that. I would.
That would be a hoot.
Listen to me, Warner Brothers. I'm on board. Do it.
I think, or it should at least be like a DC animated movie that I think would be hilarious, because they've done a couple of DC animated stuff with the Adam West and William Shatner playing Two-Face.
Yes, I actually have that on digital. I picked that up some time back, so that was fun. I agree.
Yeah, so I think they just need to get more creative and do some fun things like that, because the heart of DC is their heritage versus trying to be edgy and do things crazy. Have some fun with it. Why not?
I agree. All right, so back to me?
Yes, events / potpourri. Right. And you spelled potpourri, Charlie.
I did not write that. That was you.
Okay, potpourri.
Potpourri. So, yeah, nice try there, Extra. So events potpourri, I think, and again, Comic-Cons and events like that are a very big part of my life. They started that way. God, Todd, you and I went to a Comic Con at the Kellogg Center the fall we met back in 1995. We rode our bikes down there, and it was all single issues and whatever it is. But it's a multi-gazillion-dollar industry these days. And in the last 5 years, April and I has transitioned into vendors because we run a chapter of the Star Trek fan club. We had a massive success at our local show, Grand Rapids Comic-Con, in 2019, signing up members, and we had a great booth, whatever it is. But all of that came to a screeching halt. Our local show obviously didn't happen. It was widely lamented. It's very difficult for all of my friends in the cosplay community not being able to get out there and see their friends and display their latest wares and things of that nature. But all cons are really there. Everybody's still holding their breath, just like the movies. They depend on in person, people being in close proximity and things being safe, which just felt like it had never been an issue except back in the Spanish flu, which none of us remember because none of us were alive because it was 100 years ago. There's a chance that our club, which is a chapter of Starfleet International, we're the Grand Petoskey here in Michigan, that April and I may event an event in the month of April that's being put on by Grand Rapids Comic-Con. Or it might get trashed, or in the end of it, we may not feel safe enough to go. We haven't really decided, and nothing is decided. So it's just extremely unpredictable. I'm hoping that now that we have a little bit more guidance nationally, and again, not to dip too much into politics, but because we have a little bit more direction, and hopefully people are going to play by the rules a little bit more out there in the general populace in our country, that this kind of thing will start to be a little bit more under control. We can only hope because we really don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a crazy world. And these type of events, we eventually want to get them. We just want to do it when we don't have to worry about people getting sick.
Exactly correct. So that's all I got. All right, Todd, take us home.
Yeah. So I get a little more specific. I said cons will adapt, and we'll see more company-specific streaming events similar to last summer's DC Fandom, which was a huge success for DC. They nailed a lot of things, but DC. It was just DC-specific, and they covered TV, movies, video games, all of their property, plus comics. So they kind of covered all of their areas, and I'm like, this is what Marvel needs to do. This is what Star Wars needs to do. They need, Disney's behind them.
Todd, sidebar, I always try to cover my areas, but that's just me.
Oh, okay. Well, you should. Yes. Keep them covered, please, folks. Double mask, triple mask, whatever you need to do. But yeah, I mean, this is what I think we should see. And we saw a little bit with the big cons, like San Diego Comic-Con. They tried some things virtually. We saw some things with, I think, Chicago Comic-Con. So it's really going to be interesting to see what they can do. But I think that's what they're going to have to do to get their word out, because cons were a big part of those companies, way that they would advertise to their fan base. So I think based on what Fandom did, I would love to see others do the same thing. Do it virtually, but they also incorporate, and I don't know how much you watch, Charlie, but they incorporated cosplayers, fan art, a lot of things that make your cons feel fresh and feel cool. So I think this is something that they definitely need to do, because stop being lazy, guys. I mean, flex your muscle and involve the fans in a way that makes it fun for everybody, like San Diego Comic-Con and those places used to do, because you own these properties and we will come in and see you, and it gives us something to get excited for, especially when the world's kind of a dreary place.
No doubt about it. Exactly.
Yeah, and then lastly, this is the potpourri part. I was a big I got very lucky this year when it came to toys in merging. Basically, this is like the amalgam of toys, though, where we got Transformers crossing over with other pop culture things. So I got Back to the Future with Transformers, I got Ghostbusters with Transformers, and I also got X-Men with Transformers. And I'm hoping this continues, but they go a little crazier. And so, Charlie, I think we might get an A-Team van, which is, Ironhide. That character. Basically, put some stripes on him, but make him Ironhide. I think that would be fantastic. Whatever you want to do, but I think that'd be cool. And my other wink and nod is because of where we are with things today, and the Confederacy, things like that. I say instead of the General Lee, we got a General Grant, where it's basically that car, but it's no longer the rebel flag on it. What do you think?
You know what? Anything is possible if somebody will buy it.
I would put a big old U.S. Flag on it with that car, but make it, instead of orange, maybe make it a purple, and I'm good to go.
rockin' with Dockin'. Well, that about wraps it up then, eh?
Does. We are good to go. So, Charlie, tell people how they can keep up with the Secret Friends.
Keeping up with the SFU-ers. So, friends, as always, thank you for joining us. We love what we do, and we couldn't do it without you. Secret Friends Unite is a great Facebook group, but we're also a podcasting network. You're currently listening to our quote-unquote prime show, which is our general consensus geek pop culture. We also have the co-op mode. That is Todd and Mark Carabin, the Canardian, talking about video games. Code 47 is myself and the Northern Trek Lord Alex Terry talking about Star Trek every week. And then the Holocron Chronicles is the Canardian and myself on a bi-weekly basis talking about Star Wars. So we cover a lot of corners. You can catch our programs, thanks to Todd, over on YouTube for the first time in a long time. Audio version of our programs, if you're a YouTube lover, check on in there. And you will see our programs there when they drop, obviously, on in podcast form, too. Twitter, as I'd mentioned, that's the way to find us. We got handles for all the shows, but just you need to pay attention to this one in particular, at Secret Friends U. That would be the letter U. Tell us what you're enjoying in pop culture. What are your predictions for 2021? Do you think anything that we said makes any sense? Is it all gobbledygook? We don't know. We know as much as we did back in 2019. But let us know what you think. And certainly feel free to give us a review over on iTunes. Let us know what you're thinking about the program. That kind of helps our gold star, as it were. And we do still have wonderful digital prizes to offer you if you give us some love. Finally, we do have a Secret Friends Unite store over on TeePublic. All of our shows are representative. But what's great about TeePublic, a lot of people don't realize, is all the different kinds of merch. You can get T-shirts and sweatshirts, notebooks and stickers and pillows and coffee mugs, and to beat the band, all kinds of different stuff. You're going to find the SFU logos over there. You can also find some fun stuff related to other Star Wars and Star Trek stuff that I'm involved in. Everything that is purchased through there, the money that we get back actually goes directly to a charity that my wife and I have been part of for a number of years here in Michigan called the League of Enchantment, that does outreach work for kids in the state of Michigan, hospital visits and things of that nature. So we appreciate your support. Again, great fun. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to tell you, as always.
Quick.
Edit. Oh, we don't need to edit. Re-edit.
Yeah. So speaking of reviews, Charlie, we got a new review from a Dr. Dangler, a.k.a. Sean Seitz, who says, this is a review actually on iTunes. All things pop culture, gaming, comics, and even cosplay dress up. If you want to get your nerd on, this is the podcast for you. The hosts are great and even seem to have an unhealthy affinity for each other. Just kidding. Charlie and Todd share their passions right into your ear holes. Go State. Thank you, Sean. What a pleasure.
There you go. We got to give Sean something special. We will take care of that. So, as I was saying before I was so unrudely interrupted, thank you for joining us. As always, sharing is caring, and keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In the truck.
I think I'm a clone now.
10 years ago, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
They're the best.